Welcome back to another episode of Cavanaugh's Corner. Today on the channel, we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorites. This is one of my favorite, action, suspense, mystery type dramas, and I've always loved this film. I remember seeing this when I was very, very young, and I've always had a fondness for this movie, and that is The Fugitive here with Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones, Joe Pantoliano, just a whole host of great actors. It's a phenomenal film. Andrew Davis directing this. Probably one of the most unsung action movie directors that's walked the earth, basically. Between this and Under Siege, The Package is another great film of his. I've always been fond of his work, and this is definitely the high watermark in his filmography, in my opinion. And now we finally have a 4K remaster of this. And this was a remaster from the original negative, from what I've read. It's a 4K digital intermediate. Andrew Davis, the director, actually supervised the new transfer. So when I read that, I was very excited for this release because the Blu-ray of this has been out for quite a while now. I think it's probably over 15 years, I think, or just about 15 years. And that transfer has always been not great. This is one of those movies where I've had a hard time believing that this movie wasn't really cared for over the years, or maybe we just didn't have the technology to really clean up this film the way it should have been from the get-go. But now we actually have a transfer in 4K. This disc has HDR10 and an all-new Dolby Atmos audio track on this. So they really went the full distance with this. And so today here I'm going to be reviewing the picture quality, the new audio track, the Dolby Atmos track, and the special features, because this does come with a good amount of special features. So first and foremost, the number one thing we're going to talk about here is the picture quality. As I mentioned, this has an all-new 4K digital intermediate. The new transfer was supervised by director Andrew Davis, and I gotta say, pretty much more than almost any other film that I've seen this year, this is the absolute greatest improvement over a previous Blu-ray release that I have seen, I think maybe all year, honestly. This is no comparison to the previous Blu-ray that has been out for quite a while. It's a night and day differential here. The picture quality on this disc has been upped to the highest degree you could ever imagine. Right from the beginning of the film, when there you see the skylines of Chicago at night, no less, the black level difference is instantly recognizable. You do not have to be an aficionado of film, or even, home theater lingo when I talk about black levels and things like this to notice a difference. It's a stark contrast. The black levels on this disc have now been improved to basically perfection. The nighttime scenes now look 1,000 times better. That opening shot there, any kind of nighttime skyline shots, there are quite a few of them in this film. They have been improved to where before the skyline used to be this hazy, almost like grayish black, and now it literally looks like you were looking out of a hotel window at night. It is a perfect black. The lights of the skyline are now represented 100% accurately. Certain ones look yellow, some may look white. You can really see every little thing on this disc now. The color palette of the film has been vastly improved as well. The skin tones of all the characters are now dead on accurate. Earlier in the film, when Richard Kimball, when Harrison Ford has that beard, you can really see the individual hairs of his beard. The detail level is that high now. Colors are so improved. The reds, the yellows. One big thing that really jumped out at me after Kimball escapes and Tommy Lee Jones comes on to the scene and there's the train crash and all that. The lights during that dark scene, there's some guy welding in the background. The sparks coming off the metal being welded is like this brilliant orangey yellow. The scene afterwards, Sam Gerard is wearing this red vest, and the red is just jumping out at you. It is so vibrant. Now, the one thing I have to mention is that the film has not been wholesale, like washed with this vivid palette. It's selective, and I love that they have enhanced the colors, but the entire movie is not this overblown, way too vibrant color palette. It's very accurate. It's very natural looking, but the colors that should stand out amongst like a very barren landscape like the streets of Chicago, they really jump out at you now, whereas before it was just all kind of this bland, flat kind of color palette. Now you really get a sense of differentials in colors. Another thing that really jumped out at me is just how bright the picture gets. So the black levels are perfect, but the brightness of the film has also been improved. And again, it's not an artificial thing. It's just that HDR10 really doing some work in this movie. One scene in particular that kind of brings this to mind is there's a scene where Tommy Lee Jones, Sam Gerard, is giving like a press conference in Chicago, and they're talking about how they're looking for Richard Kimball and all that. And there is a cameraman, like a news station cameraman with a camera over his shoulder. And there is a light on top of the camera that is like arcing almost, like it's like the lens flare and the brightness of it is completely different from the lighting in the room. You can see that it's a brighter light versus everything else. It stands out, and it's actually very, very, it's beautiful to look at, but that light being completely different from the other lights in the room really shows how much work they put into this new transfer here. It is so impressive throughout. The action sequences look better than ever. As I mentioned earlier, those black levels really improved this film in many, many ways. Shadow detail is vastly improved as well. I mean, everything is just such a huge improvement. There is some grain in the picture. It is very, very light, but I did not detect any sort of digital noise reduction throughout. They have just minimized it to the point where it is barely noticeable. I mean, there is one shot in the film near the end where Kimball has on this like gray, I'm sorry, no, it's a brown sport coat near the end of the film. And in one close-up shot of Harrison Ford, you can actually see little fibers on the collar of the sport coat because he has it like folded upwards. Actually, I think there's you can actually kind of see how he's wearing it in the cover here, but you can actually see that detail now. The scene at the end where he is on the elevated train, the fight scene that he has with the one-armed man, that scene now, when the lights go out, I honestly, it kind of freaked me out because it almost is like your TV turns off. It is that perfect. It literally looks like there is like the whole thing is just black. And then when the lights slowly come on, you can see it coming on from the background. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. They really, really did an extra special job on this film, and I am so overjoyed that they did the perfect job that they did on this film. Warner Brothers really deserves some sort of accommodation for this transfer. I was blown away. Now it has been improved in a way where it's pretty much a perfect viewing experience now. The movie has never looked this good, and I very much doubt we're ever going to get a transfer better than this of The Fugitive. Absolutely amazing. I had no issues with anything with the picture whatsoever. The only thing of note that I will say in terms of revision of the film is the flashback sequences do seem to be color timed a little cooler in terms of like this. It's a hard color to describe, but to me it looked like a bluish purple hue in certain shots than it was before. There is certain scenes that are like black and white in terms of like this flashback kind of look that they went for. And those are still, to me, to my eyes, they still looked pretty much black and white. But other scenes seem to be tinted with this bluish purple hue. It's very brief. It doesn't really impact anything at all, but it is something to note when you watch it because those scenes are imperative to the film. But to me, the movie looked so good that I didn't mind that tiny little change. And for all I know, maybe it should have been like that from the get-go, and we just haven't been able to see it due to the technology. I do not know. That was a choice that was made. To me, it was so small and non-bothersome, I really didn't care. The next thing I wanted to mention, though, is the audio on this disc, because this has an all-new Dolby Atmos soundtrack, replacing an older, I think it was a Dolby Digital 5.1 on the old disc. It could have been a DTS, I'm not 100% sure. But lo and behold, the Dolby Atmos track is just as good as the picture quality. It is astounding. There has been so much body added to the audio of this film now. When I say body, I mean the overall encompassing aspects of the movie. The dialogue sounded just so much more clear and precise. The sound effects were placed perfectly. The overheads were actually used really well in this. There is one scene near the end on a rooftop where there's a helicopter flying around. There's actually quite a few helicopters in this film because of the chase aspect of this, and everything, all of those aspects really make this Atmos track a truly amazing thing to behold. I was blown away by it. The music sounded incredible. The score, just amazing. Everything about it was just so much better than the previous track that was on the older Blu-ray. Very impressive stuff. I had no complaints about audio volume, or audio levels, I should say. There was never anything overpowering each other. Everything was just done to perfection with that audio track. One scene in particular that I really enjoyed was the train crash sequence. That has been overhauled in a way where you can actually feel the bass of the oncoming train before they kind of notice it now. And it really leads to like this, oh my God, what is happening kind of moment. And it's impressive. It's really impressive what they did here. Again, no complaints whatsoever. I was very, very impressed with the new Dolby Atmos track, and I was glad that they were able to push the audio of this movie even further from the previous 5.1, because that 5.1, for what it was worth, it was fine. I mean, it was not a bad audio track, but this is a massive improvement in every way. I was very, very impressed with that. In terms of special features, pretty much everything that's on here is a holdover from the earlier Blu-ray. So there's an introduction from Andrew Davis and Harrison Ford. That was on, I think, like the DVD from like the early 2000s, like the mid 2000s. So that is a very, very old intro. But I'm glad that they included it. There's also a commentary with Andrew Davis and Tommy Lee Jones. It's interesting to listen to, but you can kind of tell that Tommy Lee Jones kind of wasn't really in it. Again, he's a older guy. It was recorded a while ago, but they kind of did it like over the phone, and it's okay. I think it would have probably been better if it was just Andrew Davis. There is a little featurette, like a making of thing called "The Fugitive: The Thrill of the Chase," which is again kind of a behind the scenes look at the movie and everything. That's actually really interesting. And then there's two other like little kind of mini documentaries. There's one that's called Derailed Anatomy of a Train Wreck, which is pretty much completely focused on the train crash sequence near the beginning of the film, which is just amazing to see how they did that for real, which is unbelievable. And then On the Run with the Fugitive, which is another kind of making of behind the scenes type documentary. There's a really, really good stuff there, and it also includes a theatrical trailer. So in terms of special features, nothing really of note. I do remember the older Blu-ray also had the pilot for like the second time they tried to do the Fugitive TV series. And that was like okay that they included that. It's kind of like a lost television series now. It was not very successful. But if you really, really want that, you'll have to stick with the older Blu-ray. It's not really worth it, in my opinion. I can see why they left it off of this. It was probably just for disc space that they left it off. But as a whole, this 4K is one of the best of the year. This is a triumph in every way: picture quality, audio quality, and again, the fact that they included those extra special features is really nice. It does come with a digital code that redeems in 4K. It is only one disc. I'll show you here. Again, this is just the standard release. There is also a steel book of it, but I didn't get the steel book. I wasn't too crazy about the artwork. So you can see it's just a simple black disc, really nothing special. This is definitely one to own on 4K. I love this film, and if you're a fan of this film, you are not going to believe your eyes when you see this. This is one of the highest recommendations I have of the year. If you want to pick this up, I will leave a link in the description below to Amazon to get this. If you use that link, it does help us out here on the channel. This was not sent to me by Warner Brothers. I bought this with my own money. I actually pre-ordered this on Amazon a while back, and I'm so glad that I did. Absolutely amazing stuff. But until next time, I just want to say thank you all for coming back to Cavanaugh's Corner. I truly, truly appreciate it. If you really want to help out the channel here, please hit that subscribe button down below and hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. All those things help us out here. Please stay safe and take it easy.